Okay, so the race has now started. We're not going to hopefully see any issues in the first level. However, it is a non-trivial level. We're going to take damage on purpose as Donkey because he does move slower than Diddy. So that way we can get to Diddy faster and then do a nice long extendo, which looks like both players nailed. And roll our way on to the exit. An extendo is a way to refresh your roll. You're going to press and release Y. Then roll through the enemy, and then after you roll through the enemy, repress and hold Y. Whenever you do that, whenever you roll through an enemy without having Y held, the game lets you restart your roll with the increased movement speed by pressing Y before your old roll ends. We use this to help cross certain gaps that would otherwise be uncrossable, if you will. So yeah, like I said, 1-1 had a very cool one. We'll see plenty more throughout this run, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Meanwhile, in 1-2, we did see both runners use one of two bonuses that we will enter during the course of this run. There is no requirement to enter bonuses during this run, but there are two spots in particular where if you do enter it and exit it, it is actually faster than playing the level out without the bonuses. Mainly in that last one because it shoots you out way far into the level at a very fast speed. Then the other one is in Elevator Antics, where it takes you past a kind of difficult section to cross. So yeah, we'll see that a little bit later. Meanwhile, both runners looks like they're not having any troubles in Reptile Rumble. This is actually one of the harder stages in World 1. It's between this one and oftentimes people say Coral Capers, which is they're entering right now. Mainly because it's very easy to bleed time in here. If you bonk on a corner or anything like that, you're going to lose your horizontal momentum, and that is really going to add up over the course of the level. You see Fathlo grabbing Eduardo, or how we like to call him Eduardo. He's technically called Unguard. But he also got a lift off of Unguard by pressing and holding up and B while mounting him. It doesn't save a bunch of time, but it is very noticeable if you go turn on your cartridge right now and you just get on him normally and then try the lift off technique. You'll definitely be able to feel the difference. And you'll see these guys lunging with Unguard. They're timing their Y presses. In DKC 1, more so than the other two Donkey games on the SNES, you really want to make sure you time those Y presses until after the original lunge animation is finished. I usually use when Diddy's feet come back onto Unguard, that's my cue that I can repress again. If you press too early, the thrust, the next lunge, won't register, so that'll be a huge loss in momentum. So you really want to make sure you time and not mash on your Unguard. Meanwhile, you saw on blue screen right there, he did get a very nice extendo across those 4 Kremlins. I believe the gap between the third and the fourth one is the space that you would not normally be able to cross without an extendo. See, he was able to refresh his roll across that big gap just so he could span it successfully. We're entering the World 1 boss here. Unfortunately, in DKC 1, the bosses really aren't that much of a challenge. They're a lot harder in DKC 2 and 3. But this one is a little bit hard to optimize, this first boss. They did want to hit Naughty just after he reached the peak of his jump. If you do it too early, you'll get bounced off of Naughty, which costs about 0.8 seconds every time that happens. And if you're really slacking, you're going to be losing multiple tens. So you really want to try to time it as close to the peak of his jump as possible, but not too early. This is another fun but short level. We got Winky's Walkway here. Lots of really fun rolls. You see Blue doing a little left-right wiggle at the very end to make sure he gets that necky and then safely continues his roll onto the platform. Both these runners are going to take the Developer Warp Barrel. There are several Developer Warps throughout this run. In DKC 2 and 3, the Worlds 1 and 2, every level in Worlds 1 and 2 have Developer Warps. But in DKC 1, they're kind of spread out throughout the game. So there's an instance of one right there. Now we're off into the hardest level in World 2, in my opinion. We've got Bouncy Bonanza. That's Kremlin Staircase. Can cause issues if you're just holding Y. Shoutouts to I Want to Be Your Jackie, who showcased an extendo method that has helped make that way more consistent for me so I don't randomly take damage there. Fathlo is approaching Spooky Jump. Let's see if he goes for it. He looked like he was going for it and then backed out. So what he was trying to do, and we'll see on Blue's screen right here, he's going to jump on this tire, and you can actually skip over the second tire. Blue completely opting out of it, didn't even attempt the Spooky Jump. Whereas on Fathlo's screen, you saw him go for it and then turn back towards the tire because he knew he was going to come up short. The reason it's called Spooky Jump is if you do jump too far to the left on that tire, you will not make the gap. You will fall to your death. And we do not get the halfway point in Bouncy Bonanza since it's out of the way and you have to grab a tire to get there. So, yeah, that's why you definitely don't want to die to Spooky Jump. In Stop and Go, you can see Blue was actually rolling through some rock crocs right there. Very interesting that in this game, as long as you're in the rolling animation, you can actually not take damage on both the rock crocs and the naughty wheels that you'll see in Temple Tempest / Millstone. Although we're not going to actually get to play Millstone because these players are going to go for a super jump. And while I was talking, apparently I missed it. Fathlo did not get the super jump. Meanwhile, Blue does. So Fathlo's going to have to take a death here. It's Millstone would be too long of a level to want to play out. He did look like he went for the tire over gap strategy, which is the developer intended strategy, but also failed that backup. That's a tough backup though, to be fair, so I can't really blame him. So he had to go to Stop and Go, get his conk, and go all the way back. Huge advantage for Blue. We'll talk about the super jump a little bit later when we get to Forest Frenzy. I'll definitely have some time to talk about it there. But Fathlo failing the setup again. Let's see if he can get it this time. Okay, so he does get the setup, the second or third try right there. Important. What we wanted to see happen was Donkey to fly off screen. Oh no, Fathlo, not again! Oh no, I don't know if he has race nerves or what's going on. He really needs to hit this tire over gap though, because he cannot afford another setup. Oh no, that is brutal for Fathlo. If you're on Team Fathlo, you better pray to some kind of god right now, because this is a huge, over a minute time loss thus far to Blue. Now, we'll see what Blue decides to do. I don't know if Blue's watching the race, if he knows his positioning right now, but he's definitely in a safe spot, and I wonder if he's going to still go for the super jump roll coming up in this next level. I'm going to talk about the super jump while on Blue's screen. I'm going to be setting this up. So what he's going to be doing here, in a few ropes, you'll see him purposefully jump into a Kremlin, and you'll watch where Diddy's Kong goes. Jumps off screen because he hit a wall and then had nowhere else to go, so it jumped off screen. This makes Diddy have a super jump state stored. Then he goes and purposely gets a Kong barrel back, so Diddy's in behind him, and then takes damage as Donkey. During the damage transition, he's going to start holding B, so that way he's holding B without initiating a new jump, so he doesn't lose the super jump state. Then he ran off a ledge, and on the same frame that he makes contact with the enemy, and he's at the very edge of the ledge, he's going to press and hold Y to initiate a roll. And that is going to give him the super jump roll if he does it correctly, which he did, which is a 20-second time save over a super jump. And we'll look on Fathlo's screen in a little bit to see how he fares on that trick. It is a frame-perfect trick, so shoutouts to Blue for nailing that. He is also setting up an SFR, a super free roll. Very similar looking trick. He does get the Diddy Kong to fly off screen. Unfortunately, he did kill one naughty, so he only has 2 naughties that are going to be available to him for this super free roll, as opposed to 3. Should have mentioned. Oh no, yeah, because they were so far. He needed to wait a little bit longer to let those go off the ledge, since he had 1 less naughty to roll through. So things about rolling through enemies. I believe every enemy you roll through increases your speed by 25%, capping at 4 enemies. So you can get, I guess, 200% movement speed buff if you get through 4 enemies in a row. So what I was talking about there is Blue was trying to set up a super free roll where he was going to go through 3 naughties, but he accidentally killed one before the setup. So he only had 2 naughties available, and because of the decreased roll duration by that 1 less naughty, he didn't have enough speed nor distance to actually get over the ledge to sufficiently execute the SFR. So he had to play the level out, so that's a decent bit of a time loss on Blue. However, Fathlo, as you can see on his screen, did not get the super jump roll that Blue got. He got just the super jump. So I don't know if he went for the SAR because I wasn't quite paying attention, but if you are late on the SAR, with late pressing Y, you'll end up just jumping off of the enemy, which gives you the super jump that you saw right there. Better than pressing too early in Force Frenzy. If you press the Y button too early, you will initiate a roll and not a super jump roll. And then if you don't have the super jump, well, then you're just going to have to kill yourself because it is really slow to play out that level by itself. Okay, so I didn't see what try Map Warp Blue got, but he's off onto Clam Chowder, as we like to call it, aka Clam City. So just expect him to try to cut corners the best as he can, using Unguard's Lunge to strategically boost past corners and kill enemies as needed. Not going to be too excited. We're going to try to focus on Fathlo going for a double extendo right here. He does nail it, gets over the tire successfully, and then is able to use the final tire to jump over the naughty wheel. Very, very smooth with that Fathlo. That's exactly what he wants to see to help try to get back into this game. Fathlo will have the slightly better movement than Blue, strictly just because of how long Fathlo's been playing this game compared to Blue. Fathlo's put in a ton of work. Not saying that Blue is a bad runner by any stretch of the imagination, but we're going to see, as long as Fathlo doesn't make mistakes, he will slowly but surely creep back up. But the question is there too much time lost from the very beginning that can he even get it back? We will stay tuned and find out. I think that was third try Map Warp right there. So you can see on both screens during this run, they went back to World 1 using the Funky Kong flight barrel. That's important because that means that they only have one sprite on screen during the overworld on the overworld map. With one sprite, you're able to press any face button, A, B, X, or Y, on a corner. And if that corner doesn't have a level node, which in World 1 there are several spots that don't, the game gets tricked into taking you somewhere, because it thinks you're supposed to be entering a level. And in the corner that they picked, in particular, takes us to the very end of Orangutan Gang, which is about, I think someone had told me it's like 16 seconds faster to get first try Map Warp to get to the end of Orangutan Gang, rather than just bypassing Funky and just playing Orangutan Gang all the way throughout naturally. So yeah, third try is not terrible. Okay, let's see how Blue fares on under the underbarrel. Okay, he does not get it. So I think there's like a 6-frame window. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's like a 6-frame window where you can be off screen and under the barrel without dying, and then you can jump up into the final auto barrel. But you can see on Blue screen he didn't instantly enter it. I like to call it under barrel. Other people like to call it instant barrel. But yeah, you can definitely tell because you like instantly get shot out of the auto barrel. Whereas on Blue screen, you can see he kind of delayed there. You saw him. What was happening is off screen under the map, he was still just like above the barrel and then naturally falling into it. So that'll be another spot where Fathlo could potentially gain a little bit of ground, maybe half a second, if that. Blue taking it safe, not doing it under the B strat. You'll notice that these ropes are pulling him down. So he's taking quite a few jumps, unfortunately. I think optimally it's like 5 jumps if you do everything perfectly to get through that section. But he's having a little bit of trouble there. Not going to cost him too much, I don't think. Maybe a second or two. Unfortunately, I missed it, but it looks like Fathlo, he must have missed the Zera roll. There's an extender you can do off of a Neki near the beginning of this level. The problem, I mean, it's very, very cool and fluid when you get it, but if you fail it, there's definitely a way to take damage, and you can see just how slow this is. He has to play as Donkey, who is just naturally slower than Diddy, and then eventually get Diddy and swap, so it's very unfortunate on Fathlo's side. Didn't panic, though. Could have been much, much worse. Definitely don't want to take a death. In the Donkey community, you know what they say. If you are Donkey, you are dead, and that's held true for very, very many runs over the course of our race history. So good to see that he did not panic too much there. Finishes out successfully. I'm sure he's not too thrilled right now, but there are still plenty of frames still to come. Frames are what we like to call frame perfect tricks, or we could call them super jump rolls or SJRs. They're all pretty much synonymous in the DKC1 universe. So Blue screen, we're seeing one of the longest levels, I think it is the longest level in all stages. It's Croctopus Chase. The main thing you're going to see on his screen, I should have switched to Blue's audio a long time ago. My apologies. what you're going to see him do is trying to cut corners as sharply as possible without bonking. Like right there, you see how he hit the ceiling. He jumped up into the ceiling on purpose so he could increase his, have a higher vertical velocity down into the barrel sooner, so he could cut the corner better. So little things like that are going to help him get a better time by the end of the level. If we do things really well in this level, which is very hard to do, you will not hear the little bit of the piano section that plays in Aquatic Ambiance. However, only 2 runners, to my knowledge, have ever done this, KBZ and Sweetmind, both very top-tier runners. So, you know, don't expect that necessarily from either of these runners. Very challenging to do. But if you hear a few piano notes, and only a few, that means, you know, they played pretty darn well. So that's kind of how we gauge it right there. Fathlo now also entering Croctopus. Expect the same stuff out of him, cutting the corners, mashing the B button is also a key. And any of the vertical sections, like what Blue is in right now, there is really no cap on your vertical velocity gain. As long as you press B for 1 frame, release B for 1 frame, press B for 1 frame, etc., you are going to be going at the max speed possible. So, you know, since it's impossible for a human to mash at that kind of a rate, you just got to mash as fast as you can to keep as much speed as possible. So there's the piano section right there on Blue's side. He got it at about the very start of that reef, that big reef near the end. Not terrible, but I kind of expect Fathlo to do a little bit better. Maybe holding off on piano until about the signpost. Again, not a huge difference between the 2 runners for that, but ooh, every second's going to count to get Fathlo back in this if he wants to have a chance. Blue taking a not uncommon, but fortunately very short death. This is a challenging stage, Torchlight Trouble. Probably what most runners would consider the start of the hard sections in DKC 1. We're not going to take the bird. Squawks does provide a light to help see through this level. However, it does cause lag, and we don't like lag in speedrunning, so we're going to avoid that. Just memorize the level layout, and as a runner, you can actually see pretty well in the level, so it's not too needed. Anyways, Blue not panicking after taking that first death, does settle out and has a pretty darn clean Torchlight. Very nice to see from him. Blue opting out of the RBR, Rope Bridge Rumble, super jump roll right there. At the very beginning, there is a DK barrel that you can use to help set up the super jump state and thus help get you the SJR. It's costs about, I believe, 9 seconds to set up, but saves 9 seconds. So, you know, that's a risk-reward thing right there. And I definitely expect Fathlo to go for it, especially since he did have that struggle in Millstone Mayhem. He's definitely going to be looking for ways to save time. So any risk is going to be worth the reward for him, probably. Meanwhile, Blue doing a fantastic job. This RBR is a pretty difficult platformer, and he makes quick work of it. So although he didn't save the potential 9 seconds from the super jump roll, he also didn't lose very much due to his pretty decent gameplay right there. So shout out to Blue. Just like in the World 1 boss with Naughty, you want to hit him after the peak of his jump. Unlike the World 1 boss, though, the World 4 Naughty does jump way higher, so it makes it a little bit harder to get optimal hits on him. There is a strategy you can do with the corner, which I expect Fathlo to go for, which helps you time those second and fourth hits a little bit better. So you can see right there, Fathlo set up the super jump. He's going to hopefully take damage off that army, roll off, and he does not press Y at the right time. So that is a, like I said, probably about a 9-second time loss due to setup. Did not hit the super jump roll, unfortunately, so he's going to have to play this level out. He's going to take the barrel there to get Donkey back. There is a barrel that he would be forced to pick up a little bit later, but it's during a challenging section where he's going to do a camera manip right here to prevent the tire from spawning in. Ooh, that's exactly what you try to do the camera manip for. You want the camera to be panned away from the tire so that it spawns later, so that you're closer to the next platform so you don't fall to your death. He unfortunately rushed it, and then probably because of, you know, he's feeling the struggle of how much he's being behind right now. So he probably rushed a little bit too much and did not let the tire do its thing. and did not have the distance to make the jump. So very unfortunate on Fathlo's side. And I'm told that Blue got ODA. I'm sorry, I was focused on the Fathlo tough section on RBR, so I missed Blue's ODA attempt. But you know, shoutouts to Blue. ODA, very nice frame to hit. I believe compared to someone who goes for it and fails to get it. There's the corner strap, by the way, on Fathlo's screen. I believe it saves about like 22 seconds. Oof! Fathlo jumped off the corner a little bit too early right there, which actually does cost time. So it's a risk-reward thing right there in the corner. It's awesome because you can get a more optimal hit, but just like in the Neki 1 or the Naughty 1 boss, if you are too early on your hit, you bounce off of him instead of hitting him. And unlike the Neki or the Naughty 1 boss, it is much more costly to fail that hit on the Naughty number 2. So that's definitely, again, any of these things that you're seeing from Fathlo. Oh, Fathlo gets the SJR, very nice. He only got 2 baddies, I think. I think he missed both of the naughties on the staircase. Any ton of these mistakes that you're going to see on Fathlo's screen, I can definitely sympathize with him because I've been in that situation where you know you're behind and you know how to play this game like super duper optimally, so you're going to try to squeeze every single tenth of a second you can. And the problem is when you do that, you play it a little bit, try to play it too optimally, you end up making more mistakes, and it's kind of a vicious cycle. And I think that's what's going through Fathlo's mind right now. He's trying to salvage stuff, and it's just not working out for him, unfortunately. Meanwhile, Blue doing some very clean work through Poison Pond. Let's see if he goes for... He is not going for triple mincer. So Ungard does have a lunging animation during which he is invulnerable. You did see on his screen he went through 1 mincer completely, just like right through the middle of it without taking damage. There is a setup you can do to go through not 1, not 2, but 3 mincers without taking damage. It's called triple mincer clip. He opted out of it. I guarantee Fathlo will go for it. Blue does lose his fish near the very end of Poison Pond. Not a big deal at all. If you're going to lose your fish, that's the spot you want to lose it at, where it no longer has any use to you. Blue setting up a trick called rolling through air. Oh, he enters the cart though, so that's going to cost him about 3 seconds if he didn't get the jump roll, and about 7 seconds if he did. Something along those lines. We'll see it again on Fathlo's screen, but essentially what he did was he swapped to Donkey, and at a certain spot on the platform, the initial platform, he ran into the cart. He didn't jump into the cart, he didn't roll into the cart, he ran into the cart, and then purposely took damage as Donkey. This let the game think, for whatever reason, that he's still on the catwalk platform, and if you're on the ground, you're able to roll and jump. So the game just lets you roll and jump through most of this, or about halfway of this stage. After a while, though, there is a little catwalk in the air, and once you cross that section, you're no longer able to do the rolling through air glitch. So then you would have to take the carts the rest of the way through, which Blue is doing a-okay, absolutely no problem. Here, Fathlo setting up. Ooh, he bonks in the corner. He still can set this. Never mind. He can. Yeah. Okay. So he was able to go for triple mincer, and he failed the single mincer, and he lost his fish. And that's not a good spot to lose your fish. If you do let your fish go too far away, it will despawn. And so now he's gonna have to play the rest of this level as Diddy, just swimming through. And you can see on Fathlo's screen, he has to wait in this little cubby hole. Blue didn't have to do this because with the fish, you're able to actually just barely squeak by. So that's an extra little bit of cycle that Fathlo had to wait, on top of Ungard just being a faster movement vessel than Diddy through this level. So yeah, that's going to be tough right there. Blueberry onto Blackout Basement. The gimmick here is the lights are going to turn on and off. As long as you stay on your known life cycle, and you have the level memorized, it's really not that bad of a level. The problem in this level occurs when you get off your light cycle, which Blue did not. He played it very nicely. Once that happens, things start looking unfamiliar to you, and that's where the mistakes occur. And since there are a lot of gaps in that level, it's very easy to fall into a pit when you're not familiar with where you are. Meanwhile, Fathlo does go for the jump roll. He took about 3 or 4 attempts to get it, so I don't think he'll be saving much time at all, if at all, compared to someone who just did the rolling through air glitch. but it is a nice little break for him. He just gets to roll through there. This is what we like to call a jump roll. So I mentioned about the super jump roll earlier. That's what a jump roll that you do when you have a super jump state stored. Here, he did not have a super jump state stored. He just had executed jump roll by itself, which is pressing Y on the same frame that you would land on an enemy. Normally you have to do it by running off of a ledge, but because of the rolling through air glitch, we're able to do it mid-air. This is a kind of a special occurrence of that. Okay, blue is off into what we like to call frame world or frame city. However, recently there was a trick discovered called the super free roll. We call it the SFR or super free roll because it's just like a super jump roll, except that it's not frame perfect. Thus the free portion. So Misty Mines used to, or still does have an SJR that you can attempt, but the super free roll is only about 1 second slower when done optimally compared to the SJR. And since the SJR is a frame perfect trick, we will not see these runners go for it probably, unless Fathlo is feeling spicy, since his run's kind of dead at this point, unfortunately. He might want to just try to go for the 1 second time save. The problem is if you miss it, you lose like 30 seconds. So usually the super free roll is the better option. Blue coming over to what we call Bird Tut. This level is called Tanked Up Trouble, aka TUT as the acronym. And we're going to try to do a jump roll off of that Neki. Had a good setup, was a little bit late, thus he bounced off of the bird instead of rolling through the bird. But yeah, that bird is what we like to call Bird Tut if you get it. Saves about 42 seconds. And again, we'll see it again on Fathlo's screen whenever he gets there. That will help close the gap a little bit, but at this point, it won't be nearly enough, I don't think, to help Fathlo get back into the lead or anything. He'll still need a lot of help from blue to try to even have a chance at this one. We'll see, though. I mean, if blue did miss that frame, if blue, let's say, doesn't get the super free roll and Fathlo does, that's another 30 seconds. And if blue misses perils and then dies, which is very possible in perils, you know, that could be another 20, 25. So it's not necessarily out of the question just yet for Fathlo, but it's grim. It is definitely grim. So we'll see. First of all, he definitely needs to hit either Creme Tut or Bird Tut. There are two frame options for jump rolls in Tut. One's off of a Creme, one's off of a Bird. The Creme Tut does save an additional like 11 seconds off of the Bird Tut, so we'll see that one first. It is a lot harder to execute and is way riskier, can make you die quite a number of ways, so crack it open Ramby. He's going to keep Ramby for the vast majority of the level. There is a D-boost that we can do to skip a moving platform, so skip a cycle. Fathlo a little bit early on the Creme Tut, did not even get to the spot to where the Creme and him would make contact together. So no Creme Tut for him, but a little bit early on the Bird Tut right there. You saw how he rolled through. He rolled through the bird instead of jumping off of the bird or jumping or rolling through or in the jump roll through the bird. So yeah, that's unfortunate. No time saver Fathlo there. Meanwhile, blue having no issues whatsoever in Manic Mincer is very, very nice. Okay, so blue is going to set up the super free roll right here. Takes damage on purpose as Diddy. Diddy runs into wall, jumps off screen, so his jump state stored. Takes damage as Donkey starts holding B as Diddy in the transition state. He does miss one snake there. Does get that. Gets 2, 3, and only 3 baddies. Okay, so like I said, 4 baddies is your capped speed. No matter how many more you roll through during the same roll duration, you'll be capped at that speed. He only hit 3 though, so he's not moving at full speed, but he's moving pretty darn quick. Hopefully he knows the release point. One of these things I forgot to mention about super jumps and super jump rolls and super free rolls is that as long as you're still holding B, you're still rising, even though you're off screen. So what we do is we find visual cues saying like when this banana touches the left side of the screen, we release, just as an example. So typically, since we go for a 4 baddie setup on the SFR there, we have a specific spot we want to release at to make sure we end the super free roll at the very end of the level. Since he only got 3 baddies, he had to use a different release queue, and he definitely nailed it. He knew exactly what the backup queue was, so shouts to Blue for that. That goes to show you the kind of practice that it takes. Not only do you need to know the good strats, you also need to know the backup strats for these race situations where resetting is not an option. You need to know what to do in those not so optimal situations so you don't lose further time. And Blue putting that on display here. Blue getting through the end of Loopy Lights, no problem, as is Fathlo through Manic Mincers. Okay, so we'll see how Fathlo tackles the Misty Mine trick. Is he going to go for the SJR? He does take damage right there to set up the super jump state. He does go for the... He is going for the SFR. It's a wise move. So we'll see how he fares on this. He does get the first 2, gets the 3rd, gets the 4th. Okay, good. So he has 4. His setup looks a little bit different than what I'm used to. So since he didn't hit the 4th baddie at the same spot that I normally do, I'm not sure where his release spot is, but I'm sure that he's practicing. He probably knows what he's doing, so should see him. If done optimally, he'll roll right into the exit door. Blue did not get the frame, so we're going to see him play a very challenging level. And nice little tire roll it there to minimize how his height. Okay. Ooh, I forgot he goes for the back boost strat there. I thought he was going for the semi dumb jump, but no, he went for the back boost. Very nicely done. Let's see if he nails this. I know he goes for a double back boost here. Oh no. Okay, so that's a big death. If he has one more of those, okay, not that kind of death, but if he has another big death, that will give Fathlo a chance to actually come back from this. So Blue needs to be very careful here. If he's watching, which I guess he was not watching the race, because if he was, I would have assumed he would have taken it easy at the end. I mean, kudos to Blue for having the balls to do risky stuff. But we'll see if he has the cojones to do it again. I mean, sometimes you just want to do what you're comfortable with, and it looks like that's what he's going for. So it all comes down to this. Can he nail that? And he does. Very good, Blue. Oof. Breathe a sigh of relief if you're on Team Blue right there, because that is what he did right there is not trivial. That is very technical movement. And as you can see in the first attempt he did where he did die, any little bit mistake, rolling too deep, not rolling deep enough is going to result in death on that very end section. Now on Fathlo's screen, he's going to be setting up the jump roll, doing a few back boosts off of armadillos, jumping this particular spot, bounce off that guy, boom, and there he goes. He runs off the ledge after setting that up, presses Y at the right frame, and he is just rolling through air. So yeah, very nice finish for Fathlo. Just unfortunate that the lead that he gave away to Blue in Millstone Mayhem was insurmountable, even with the giant death that Blue had in Perils. But again, shoutouts to Blue. He did play pretty well. He got Forest Frenzy. He got ODA. He didn't do MCM. He didn't do Snake. He didn't do RBR. He didn't get Bird Tap, but he did get Misty Mine. So, I mean, essentially getting 3 frame-like tricks, 2 real frames and 1 semi-frame. It's going to be a pretty nice run. Only 1 death, if I recall. No, he had the 1 death in Perils, the 1 really quick extra death in Perils after reloading his level, and then the 1 quick death in Torchlight. So 2 minor deaths and 1 big death for Blue, but 2 frames and the SFR to back it up. So not a bad run at all from Team Blue over there. Honestly, and once Fathlo kind of settled in after there was a few mistakes that happened at Millstone, and then probably a few spots where he over-rushed things trying to save some time. But after that set of snafus, he really did start to clean up his act. So definitely not a terrible finish on Fathlo's end, given the situation. So I guess the only thing to really say about this fight is that the runners are going to try to hit K. Rool as soon as the crown is off of his head. If you do it really fast, you won't even see the crown on the ground. So that's like the little bit of optimization, but there won't be much of a difference between the 2 runners on that, to be honest. Even if one has more crownless or /optimal hits than the other, it won't save very much time, but it is kind of cool. Also, Fathlo kind of showing off the pixel spot where you can stand as Diddy and not take damage. I don't believe you can do that with Donkey. I think his hitbox is a little bit too big. But you can do it with Diddy, and there are 2 different spots depending on which side the cannonballs are coming from. And he definitely knows both spots. So there we go. That is a GG on Blueberry's side. 35-19. Again, 3 deaths, and one of them was super costly. I believe, like I said, his PB is a 34-43 or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if the death that he had was about 30 seconds. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but probably in that vicinity, maybe 25-30. So definitely could have been a pretty decent 34 right there, close to his PB otherwise. So give a round of applause for Blue. Very, very nicely played. And meanwhile, we got Fathlo now just about finished up. He's got, what is this, 1 more hit left? Yeah, this is the final hit on Fathlo's side. I'm sure he's looking to go to the washroom and ease his mind from this pain. He'll need to take a little bit of a walk to get this one out of his head and come in clean for game number 2. Hopefully this one won't impact his next one. Sometimes that's the way races are. It's speedrun is definitely a very mental game. So some big issues like this can definitely creep into your future races if you're not careful. But I'm sure Fathlo will do what is necessary to clear his mind, reset, and come back really, really strong in game 2. We definitely know he does not want to exit this tournament right here, right now. So he's going to fight for his tournament life right here in game number 2. Don't be surprised if you see a 32 or a low 33 on his side. So, you know, it can go either way. Sometimes you can go Kaioken times 10 on this stuff. And I won't be surprised if that happens. Let's give a +1 to Blue. Okay, so the dot rematch has been issued in the race channel. Blue has readied up. Meanwhile, Fathlo has not yet. And like I said, I expect it's because probably Fathlo is taking a little bit of a walk to remove any inklings of that past race from his brain, so he could really stay sharp in this second game. Again, this is the losers bracket. A losers bracket match. So if he loses this one, he is out of the tournament. So very, very critical he comes in with a good mindset for this next game. Excuse me. Okay, so Fathlo has readied up. So expect the match to start shortly. I think we're just waiting for Fathlo actually to exit the match. The timer can tick down. So again, shouldn't be too much longer now. I hope you guys enjoyed that first game. I know the commentary was a little bit scattered. It was a little bit tough since the gap was so wide. Hopefully these runners do me a solid and play extremely well all the way through, so they can be necky and necky. Make my job a little bit easier. Okay, and the timer has started. So we will see the race show up on stream very, very shortly. Hype it up, guys, if you're excited for this one. Let me know if you guys are on Team 23 or Team 26. Show your support. Okay, and we're off. Okay, so we're back into World 1, everyone. We got Jungle Hijinks, I believe it's what it's called. Again, starting with Donkey. Gonna grab the DK barrel, throw it the last instant to try to take damage and break open the Kong barrel to set up Diddy in front. But unfortunately, Fathlo taking damage. This at least is not insurmountable. He definitely can come back from that. That's not what you like to see, though. Not twice in a row. He is trying to cut it a little bit too tight. You want to get pretty deep into that naughty before you release the DK barrel, but he's going too far. Just after that red flower is kind of the visual cue. So 2 very, very quick deaths at least, probably about the size of 1 frame. So if blue hits the super jump in Force Frenzy, whereas Fathlo hits the super jump roll, that probably will tie them back up. So definitely not insurmountable as of yet, but definitely not what you want to see on Fathlo's side. Again, after such a rough first round. He really wanted to come in clean start to, give him that confidence. Hopefully he can shake it off, though. Again, 2 quick deaths. He can definitely come back from this. His movement is very, very good. But yeah, blue's off into Reptile Rumble. Again, what I consider the hardest World 1 stage. He's going to do a little delay there to set up the, to get the Kremlin close enough so he can actually roll through it, which is a little bit faster than just naturally running to the right. Blue had the opportunity to go for a crawl space zip there, opted out of it, instead just doing some crouch jumps. I didn't mention that earlier, but you can crouch jump your way through the crawl spaces, which he did on the second one right there, but not the first one. Or for the last 2 crawl spaces, the first one he didn't. He ended up crawling through it, which is really slow. The second one he was able to crouch jump through. Meanwhile, on Fathlo's side, we will be able to see him go for the zip. So he's going to crouch jump to start, and then over halfway through, he's going to try to press Y, which he failed. So he ends up just crawling through the back half of it. Unfortunate, not a big deal. He does get that crouch jump right there, and that one right there. So not terrible, just a little bit of a slowdown on that one section. Blue getting the lift off with On Guard, taking him through, Coral Capers. Gonna try to lunge through these corners. Very, very nice. A little bit of a bonk from Blueberry, killing a lot of his momentum. A little bit annoying in World 1 when you get any of those minor time losses, but over... Ooh, good. Fathlo still got that. Fathlo also had a bonk right there, and I was nervous because if you bonk right there, it's very, very easy to fail the Croctopus skip. We used those iframes during the lunge to get through that guy, and his position was going to be a little bit different than normal because of his bonk, but he nailed it no problem. Very, very nice, Fathlo. Okay, Blue's off into the auto barrels in 1-5. He's going to do an extendo, not off this Kremlin, not off that one, but off this one. Going through that big gap. Very, very nice. And Fathlo's going to have to follow suit. We'll see. Does Blue go for the extra? He does. He went for. You saw him do a little bit of a wiggle there at the end. It was intentional. He was trying to wiggle back to the left to hit that last blue creme to give him that additional roll speed to get to the end. Does save a little bit of time. Not a big deal though. Probably what, 0.4 seconds or something like that. If you fail that, we'll see it on Fathlo's screen right here. He'll probably hit it no issues. Yep. nails it. Very, very nice. You can see how that roll gives you extra speed and takes you all the way to the final Kremlin and into the exit. Nicely done. Okay, last race we blinked and we missed it on Winky's walkway, so don't blink this time. Nice little extendo across a Neki to cross a gap. Normal if you just hold Y through the 2 Kremlins and the Neki at the very beginning. If you just hold Y throughout the whole thing, you will not make it up the ramp, whereas Blue did make it up the ramp because of his extendo mechanic. Very, very well executed on his end. We'll see the same thing on Fathlo's. I do extendo right there. Very, very nice. Blue does get the developer warp. No issues. I believe he also goes for the rolling through the DK barrel strat. The more beginner strat is to roll into the DK barrel, pick it up, and throw it, and then continue on your merry way. But that is, there is a cost to that. Picking it up does slow your momentum, and then the throwing animation is not trivial. So rolling through the DK barrel, aka pressing and releasing Y right away, rolling through the barrel, and then pressing jump, and then midair repressing and holding Y. Slightly tricky technical strat, but it does save a little bit of time. So since these guys are higher end runners, definitely not surprised to see them go for that. Okay, let's see. Blue, I think last time did not go for spooky jump. He does just opt to take the tire. Very, very safe. Probably only cost him about 0.2 or something like that. We will see on Fathlo's end. He's going to set up what we like to call B-skip right here. He's going to do the crouch jumps through those. Oh, he messes up the first B-skip, but does nail the second. Going to crouch jump through those crawl spaces, which lets him have better momentum and distance to get past the B cycles. Ooh, he did not go for spooky jump again. I couldn't tell that time if he was going for it and then backed out, or if he just straight up decided not to even attempt it. I mean, maybe I wouldn't be surprised if he just decided not to go for it at all because of his confidence. You know, when you make a few early mistakes, it tends to make you play a little bit safer on some of those higher risk ones that don't save much time. So, meanwhile, Blue is setting up the super jump state, taking damage again as Diddy to get Donkey back, who had the state stored. Very, very nice. No problem there. I assume we're not going to see any issues this time from Fathlo on Millstone. He's going to crack open these TNT barrels. Swap. They only get rid of those TNT barrels because they get in the way. They're not really part of the trick. So yeah, swaps to Donkey, takes damage. Donkey flies off screen, and then gets his Kong back, takes damage as Diddy, and then falls onto an enemy while holding B, initiating the super jump and straight into the warp barrel. Very, very nice. Glad to see he got rid of those demons from the first game. I'll look at fade out times. So we got 6:48 fade out from Blue. The spawn spot of the Neki, you have to hit him 5 times. Whether he spawns high or low is RNG. You definitely want to hit low or spawn him low because it's easier to optimize the hit on top of his head if he's low. 7:10 versus 6:48. Well, 22 seconds separate these guys. So that is the difference of 1 SJR. So if Blue gets the super jump and Fathlo gets the super jump roll in Force Frenzy, it will be a tie ball game roughly. I think Blue will still be slightly in the lead. Okay. Blue must have taken damage in the end of what's it called? Vulture Culture. Because he was Donkey and did not get the Donkey backup strat. So that is gonna... Oh my gosh, and they both failed it. Okay, this is actually a tie ball game. That was the whole gap gone. So yeah, Blue, you have to jump out of there. He's like trying to optimize it too much, man. So yeah, Fathlo gets to the second try. Blue, meanwhile, does have to try a, like, this is technically like his 4th try, so he doesn't have the right speed because, like, he's used to you roll into the naughty, which gives you additional speed, and then you jump at a certain spot to jump on the Neki, and the Neki will be in a certain spot that you reach the tire, and like he was definitely out of sync there with what his normal mechanics are, and he was really struggling to find his backup. So in the first race, we saw Blue have some really nice backup in the Misty Mine SFR with only hitting 3 baddies and knowing the release queue, but it looked like there he did not quite have the same backup technical knowledge that he needed. Really cost him big there. Meanwhile, Fathlo does hit the super jump roll, so pressure is on Blue. He really needs to land this. He did get it in the first race. We'll see how he does here. He does get just the Single or zero baddie. He does back it up. This is probably still faster than dying and doing the super jump again, or definitely faster than taking the ropes, but definitely not what he was hoping for. He essentially got the frame, but only, I think, a single explosion instead of a double explosion. Whatever that actually means, I don't really know, but I do know. Oh, he did not know the release point for zero baddies. Yikes! Okay, so he's gonna have to play it out. So scratch what I said about it being faster than playing the level out, because if you didn't know what the release point was, falling to your death there is certainly more costly than taking the ropes. So, I mean, I hate to say it this early, but it looks like this is probably going to go to game 3. Too early on that. Y press, this is why he just rolled instead of getting the super jump roll. So, yeah, this is definitely a spot where in a race situation, very easy to get into infinite on Blue's end, especially after you nailed the frame the first time and then kind of got unlucky with the single explosion instead of double explosion, then not knowing the release cue, then dying, and then too early on the next one. Like, this is definitely a very tilting series of events on Blue's side. We'll see how he comes back from this. I mean, it is DKC 1 All Stages, so not over yet technically. Plenty of ways for things to change, but at this point it is firmly in Fathlo's hands. Blue's going to need to play very, very well, and Fathlo's going to need to make some mistakes to get Blue back in this second race. Fathlo definitely having some issues with some of his movement, getting stuck on some corners, over lunging past some spots. So I don't know what's happening right now for Fathlo. He's not very sharp. Normally he's a very, very tight execution runner, but for whatever reason, you know, some days the game doesn't treat you well, and during this match, it has definitely not been his cleanest. So if he does end up winning this game, I'm sure he will breathe a sigh of relief. He'll know he will have gotten out of this one very fortunately, because I'm sure if you asked him, he would say he's not very happy with movement as of yet in these 2 races. But hey, a win is a win, and that's all that really matters at the end of the day. Blue was going for the SFR there. He was going for the harder technique, though. If you remember in the first race, he went for the SFR, but he went for the standard technique of rolling straight to the left off the naughties. The goal is to roll off the ledge to the left to initiate the SFR in air glitch. However, here he was going for a roll back to the right. If you notice, the ledges kind of slope a little bit. There's a little bit of a staircase to them, and technically you can roll back to the right, and that little bit of staircasing gap does give you the height needed to initiate the SFR. It is a lot tougher. I can tell you from personal experience that going for the SFR using an extendo back to the right is way, way harder, and it only saves about 0.4 seconds from my timing. I have to assume he went for that. Blue went for that just because of how rough both Treetop Town and Forest Frenzy were. I'm sure if he didn't have those issues in those levels, he would have gone for the normal SFR. Fathlo did die to the Neki Extendo there into the auto barrel. Not something you normally see from a runner of his caliber, but definitely a thing that can happen if you mess up your Y presses and represses. Fortunately for Fathlo, that's not a big death, and he does have a pretty big lead, so I don't see that being the end of him in, like, for this race. Definitely still firmly in his grasp. We'll see what Fathlo does here. I forgot to mention this is a developed barrel in Slip Slide Ride. He's going to bounce off this crumbling to reach the rope, and instead of going to the left and swapping to Donkey, he's going to do a rope double jump there to get off screen and go above the warp barrel and then roll into it as Diddy. If you do try to get into the barrel from underneath, you could only use Donkey for it. Donkey's hitbox is a little bit taller and can just barely reach that that warp barrel. But since we come at it from above with the out of bounds glitch, Diddy's able to get it with a roll. Very, very nicely done on Fathlo's end. Ooh, okay, so Fathlo's going for a relatively, heck, as far as I'm aware, I believe Nay, who's also in the tourney and racing a little bit later tonight against Canis, found this tech where normally when we start this this Ice Age Alley, what we do is we hold B and not Y. We hold B and left, but not Y, and that slows our leftward momentum just enough that we can get over the necky nut. So that's the typical strat. However, Fathlo was going for the Nay strat, where you start by holding Y and left, no B, don't jump. You roll into the slope at the very beginning, and then after a little bit of that delay, then you jump over the mini necky and then roll off the ledge. So that's what he was going for, but the tricky thing is if you don't get far enough on the ledge, you'll be too far to the right and you'll pick up the DK barrel instead of rolling. And once you've done that, there's no escaping it. You're falling to your death. So yeah, if you're on Team 26, you definitely like to see that happen on Fathlo. Again, it's going to take a lot of mistakes from for Blue to catch back up. And, you know, 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there is exactly what Blue's going to need to get back in this. Right now, he is still Slip Slide Ride and Ice Age Alley behind. I believe Croctopus Chase is like 2 minutes and 12 seconds or 2 minutes and 20 seconds, something like that. So I think they'll still be in the same stage at the same time, but that'll be very misleading. It's still quite a big lead for Fathlo. Blue, meanwhile, is setting up the out-of-bounds rope jumping. He does get a second try. Not terrible. Obviously, you would have liked to see it first try for him, but second try is not terrible. Oh, I should have switched to Fathlo music. My bad. I'm so bad at the audio controls. Thank you for bearing with, everyone. Okay, so Fathlo's just busy cutting corners. Meanwhile, we'll see Blue does go for the jump strat. You see how Blue held B and left, and then jumped on top of the necky, and then got to his Espresso buddy. So it's a little bit slower than the recent strat that Nay found, but not by much. Just try to continue to let this aquatic ambiance play off. Not terrible on Fathlo's side, by the way. The piano started at about the G. I mentioned in the first race. We're looking to cut corners and mash B as fast as possible on the vertical sections to save as much time as possible. And if done well, you won't hear any piano at the end. Having the piano start off when the G is collected is not bad at all. For frame of reference, Blue, who won the first race, had his piano section start near the very beginning of the giant reef at the end. So definitely a little bit of a time save on Fathlo's end compared to how Blue played it the first time. We'll see if Blue can do a little bit better this second time around. Fathlo is setting up the rope bridge rumble frame. He did not get it last time, so let's see if he gets it this time. Gonna jump at a very particular spot to have the army follow him. He does get the army to follow. He does hit the frame. Comes back for the second army. Very, very nice. So like I said, it's like a 9-second setup, but it's a 9-second time save compared to someone who doesn't go for it. So it's like about an 18-second delta. But actually, since Blue doesn't go for it, so it's going to be a 9-second time save over what Blue's going to do. Okay, so Fathlo going for the corner. Did get the corner last time, but fell down too early yet again, just like last race. Falling down too early, and in this naughty, it is a lot more costly if that happens to you. Because he does get the second corner. He has to make sure not to fall down too early. You have to wait till he's after the peak of his. He has to fall down after Naughty reaches the peak of his jump. So just slightly after that. nails it the second time. I believe Blue did not go for the corners last race, so expect him to not go for it again this time. Fathlo with a very interesting setup. He must have made a mistake because it almost looked like he was going for the damageless ODA SJR setup, but then he went back up and took damage, so he definitely felt uncomfortable, definitely did something wrong on his movement there. Ends up getting... he actually did have a shot at it still. He did try get an attempt off of the frame, but was late and did get a super jump instead. So he canceled the super jump and then plays this level out normally. This level is pretty difficult if you don't get the SJR. So hold your breath for the very, very end. Definitely ways to die if he is not careful. He does pick up a backup Kong for safety right there. In a PB attempt, you would definitely not see him do that. But this fire coming up right here can kill. Okay, woof. Yeah, so you can see just how treacherous that is. He definitely made a few minor mistakes, but recovered very, very smoothly. Shoutouts to Fathlo on that. That is not he made it the backup look easy, and it is that was a lot of good improvisation for sure. Okay, so Blue opting out of RBR, so he's gonna play this level out. The developer intended strat. He did nail the camera manip last time. Let's see how he fares this time around. Does he... he just passed up halfway and immediately bites him in the butt. Does not get the proper roll over that gap. His positioning when he started his roll was not quite right. And there's just a weird thing about DKC 1 rolls, is if you roll from a certain spot, you'll get a nice horizontal roll over a gap before starting to fall vertically. But then there are other spots where your vertical drop will happen almost immediately. And that's kind of what happened to Blue right there at that halfway spot, where he was expecting to get a long horizontal roll before dropping vertically, and it just never happened. He fell right into his death. Okay, Fathlo safely out of elevator antics. I did forget to mention about the elevator skip. There was a camera manipulation that Fathlo did to be able to skip a cycle of an elevator section and then essentially roll and jump through it, bypassing everything. Not sure how much time it saves, but it's also not that hard once you get used to it and know the camera manipulation. So pretty much runners of all skill levels should be going for that. We'll see. I'll hopefully try to point it out when I see it on blue screen, if I remember. Okay, so last time Fathlo did fail triple mincer clip. This time, absolutely nails it. I was actually a little bit worried for him on that last one. That it almost looked like he rolled a little bit, or he almost lunged a little bit too early. But it did work out for him, so very, very nice. Much cleaner poison pond than last time. Blue was, I believe, a little bit early on the frame. I think I saw him roll instead of getting the SJR. So he will also have to play this level out. He did not have to play this level out last time, so he doesn't have the warm-up that he did. Or he doesn't have any warm-up on this. So hopefully he's able to play it smoothly, going in raw. Okay, Fathlo does nail the jump roll right there. People do like to say that the MCM, Minecart Madness jump roll, is the easiest of the bunch. Very nice. Blue has a slightly different setup for the ending. Doesn't look very slow though. So I don't exactly know how it compares to the standard strat, but it looks relatively fast, and he executed very, very nicely. Okay, so Blue entering elevator antics. He does not have an extra Kong, so we will not see the snake coming out of Blue. Stuck in a little bit of a crawl space right there. You never want to be stuck crawling through a crawl space if you can help it. Doesn't press the Y button. No roll was ever initiated. What happened there? He just falls off into his death. Very, very unfortunate. Okay, Fathlo entering blackout basement. Again, the lights are going to turn on and off. As long as he stays on his known path, he shouldn't have any issues here. And the only real issues happens when you make one mistake and then the light cycle is off, where things are visible when they're not normally, and things are invisible when they normally are visible. You can definitely throw a runner off, and in this level where there are this many gaps, it's very easy for that to cause you to fall to your death. So far so good on Fathlo. Haven't seen really any mistakes on his end. Nice and clean. Gets the nice extendo and jump over the claptrap at the end. Very, very nice. Okay, so Blue is getting close to elevator skip, so I'll try to pay attention this time on his side. So what he's going to do after this mini necky here, he's going to go face left, pan the camera away from the elevators. That will spawn them in such a way where he can jump over this B, hit the platform, and roll under the elevator that was incoming. By skipping that, he's able to roll jump to the next elevator and save a bunch of time. Okay, so you'll notice that Fathlo's playing the end of Boss Dum Drum as Donkey. That is intentional. There are 5 sets of enemies you have to kill in that boss. The final 2, Donkey can jump on to kill, whereas Diddy cannot. So it is faster in that sense to swap to him, but also an added benefit is that Donkey's fanfare is a little bit faster than Diddy's, believe it or not. So, okay, Blue setting up single mincer clip, very nice. So yeah, it's not much, and in fact, that benefit is going to be lost in Tanked Up Trouble, where you do swap back to Diddy. But the reason I bring up the fanfare is that at the end of this world, at the end of World 6, there is the optimal strat would be to end the level as Donkey and then fight K. Rool as Donkey. So even though Diddy is used in the vast majority of this run, the titular character actually has the optimal strat to end the game, which is pretty cool. So Fathlo does not go for, or does not get Creme. He's setting up Bird Tut right here. Again, 42-second time save if he nails it. He is a little bit late, so he bounces off the bird. No dice, and Blue was going for the jump roll. You know that in his head, he was thinking, I have to save every possible second if I want any chance of beating Fathlo in this race. So he does opt to try for the 4-second time save. The problem with MCM is, well, although people do claim that it is the easiest of the frames, it is quite risky, because if you are late on the Y press, you will do what Blue just did there again, which is bounce off the bird and fall to your death. So yeah, Fathlo just going to casually take this moving tracker all the way through the end of the level. Pretty slow, nothing you can really do to speed things up. The slight optimization technically is to prevent, I believe you want to prevent the blinking red lights. Being straight red is fine. When it's blinking, I think it does have an ability to cause some lag. So there are some ways you can manipulate the dot count or the fuel count by delaying in certain areas to make sure that you're never in a blinking state. But again, that is such a minor optimization, and I don't even know if he's thinking about that during like a race situation. So, just kind of a side thought. Okay, again, Fathlo grabbing Ramby, where you are going to save him at the end of the level over a gap to skip a moving platform cycle. Solid movement from Fathlo's side. And he's gonna careful right there. Okay, so Ramby actually did some auto lunges right there, and that really messed up Fathlo's ability to set up the proper D-boost. He does end up going for the D-boost, but it was a lot slower than what you would normally see. That's unfortunate. Yeah, that whatever they're called, the crushes, really got in his way. Blue, meanwhile, on Blackout Basement, He had a very solid execution last race in this level. And I didn't quite catch it this time around, but he is at the end. And from what I saw, there was no issues. A little bit sloppy at the very, very end there. Maybe just a few tenths, not a big deal at all. So very, very nice on blue. Only 2 baddies on, I think that was only 2 on Fathlo's side, unless I miscounted. I was looking from blue's screen, swapping over to Fathlo's, and I think I caught it at the tail end, so I'm not exactly sure, but I don't think he got 4. So hopefully he knows where his release spot is, given this situation. There is one gap at the very, very end that you could theoretically fall into a bad release spot. Okay, so he actually played it safe. He knew that there was a chance to die if he released too early, kind of what happened to blue in Force Frenzy. So he decided to play it safe and hold B for much longer than needed. That kind of eliminated the benefits of the SFR that he got, because if you have to play the level out normally, but you attempted the SFR, you're probably losing about 30 seconds. I don't think he lost 30 seconds sitting up in the air like that, but between sitting up in the air and his slower roll speed, maybe he lost about 20 of the potential 30 that he could have saved. This is just a random guess. I don't know, but he definitely didn't get the full time save. So that is some time that blue will get back whenever he makes it there. But again, it would take something catastrophic on Fathlo's side for this to lead to switch hands, because Tanked Up Trouble, which is what blue's on right now, is a very, very long stage. Fathlo coming to the end of Loopy Lights. Navigating the B section like a professional. Very nice. He's gonna try to land on the platform just left of the Mankey Kong. And if he does that without taking damage, he's able to then roll through the Mankey Kong. Again, rolling through an enemy will give that 25% movement speed buff. So it will take that to the end of the level. Oof. Okay, so Fathlo was uncomfortable with the little extendo he got off that set of clumps right there, so he actually bailed out of the normal strat and went back to the arrow platform. Can't blame him. If something goes wrong there, it would have been death, so... he did set up for the Perils jump roll, but failed it, was a little bit late, bounced off the army. Doesn't go for the backup. If this was DNA 423, he definitely would have gone for the backup. DNA is a backup god, if you will. There's like 4 or 5, I think, backup jump rolls you can get in Perils. But yeah, Fathlo, I don't know if he's watching the race or not, but if he is, he would know he has a very, very comfortable lead. No reason to risk anything. I expect to see him take this safely if he knows he's in the lead. He is going for the double back boost ending, so maybe he's not watching. In which case, very nicely executed though. That's, again, we saw blue go for that same strat in the previous race and die because of it. So that goes to show just how tough that strat is, and Fathlo making it look easy, honestly. Okay, just a few more hits on Fathlo's side on Neki. That damage, technically, I don't know if he did it on purpose, but because last race he did play Diddy on K. Rool. However, like I said earlier, playing Donkey in this boss is actually optimal. The fanfare is going to be shorter than Diddy, and it's easier to get optimal hits on K. Rool as Donkey. It is not impossible to get optimal hits as Diddy on K. Rool, but it's just much easier as Donkey. So yeah, unless like Fathlo's power goes out, this is going to be a Game 3 situation. Because this K. Rool really is not that hard of a... most of the bosses in DKC 1 on. Neki 2 is probably the hardest to play correctly. Yeah, once you get to K. Rool, you're pretty much you know, sipping on your margarita, watching the sunset. Like, game is pretty much set in stone at this point. Okay, blue is setting up the SFR. It's 1, gets 2, gets 3, and does get 4 baddies. So he is flying through the end of this stage. Very nice. Like, again, last time He only got 3, but he did know the release point. So, I mean, even though Blue did have a big time struggling with the treetop town, because he didn't know quite what the backups, or either he didn't know them or he wasn't fully practiced in them. Whereas Misty Mind, you can tell he did do the work because he nailed it in the previous race. So. Okay. Blue, this level, I don't know what other people's opinions are of Loopy Lights. I don't think it's that bad of a level like that. I don't think it's that hard of a level, and I think it's mildly fun to play, honestly. There's some pretty cool spot, and Commentator's Curse, I probably just killed Blue right there. I was just about to say, like, you have to really get off of your cycles, your roll cycles, for this to actually kill you. But he does just that. He actually, I guess that is one spot where it can be kind of risky. You do end up getting pretty close to that claptrap before wiggling back to the left and jumping over him. So, GG to Fathlo getting the 34-54. I'm sure he's again, even though it is a 34, he's probably still none too happy. Remember, he had the 2 very, very quick deaths at the very beginning of the race. And he had a death in Ice Age Alley at the very beginning. It's like there was definitely some stuff that is very uncharacteristic of Fathlo. But like I said at the beginning, a win is a win. It doesn't matter how you get it, really. So he'll breathe a sigh of relief as he skates past this one and moves on to Game 3. I mean, as you all know, this is a platforming game, and it is very, very tough to play optimally for 30 minutes at a time. Let alone, you know, this race. This is already race number 2, and we got a third one coming. So we're asking these guys to play perfectly for an hour and a half, essentially, and that's very, very challenging. So, given that bit of information, it's the 34 that he got is really not too bad at all. Hopefully Blue can nail this frame. Setup was bad. Normally that's not an issue. I did see Void died to that in his stream the other day, and Blue just died right there. But honestly, that's a pretty uncommon death. Typically, the setup is, like, if you fail the setup, oftentimes the armadillo to the left crashes into you and kills you. If you don't have that second army follow you, then typically the setup is good, and you're just going to bounce off the army if you're late, or roll through the army if you're early. So actually taking damage off the army that you're supposed to jump, pretty rare. Okay, he nails it that time. Definitely a little bit of a struggle on Blue's end for this Perils. And kind of how I mentioned for Fathlo in Game 1, it's one of those things that when it rains, it can definitely pour. And I feel like that's maybe what we experienced on Blue's end this time. So I'm sure Blue's gonna be ecstatic to just press the reset button on this timer after this race ends and move on to the next one. Forget about this one completely, because he knows he can play better than this. But again, it just, sometimes that's what happens, man. Sometimes the monkeys don't roll the way that you want them to, and there are definitely levels in this game where that can spell your death. That is what we call a jump roll. I'm sorry I didn't explain that a little bit as we were going, or during that actual execution. But if you missed the explanation earlier, what you're trying to do there is you're trying to run off of a ledge, and at the last frame possible, really, you want to be making contact with the enemy, but also pressing Y. If you do it correctly, the game won't know if it should give you a jump off of the enemy or a roll off of the enemy. And since it gets confused, it gives you what we call a jump roll, which lets you get infinite horizontal movement. Bees and stuff can still kill you, but other than that, you are pretty much golden. Now, there's another trick that these runners have already gotten earlier in this run called a super jump roll. You take that jump roll technique I was talking about, but then you add on a super jump state. And instead of moving horizontally infinitely, you also move, you rise infinitely vertically. So, and the added benefit of a super jump roll is that you actually have rollings, like you can actually roll through enemies to increase your speed. So it's definitely faster than a jump roll where applicable. Okay, blue down to 1 monkey. Hopefully that won't be his downfall. I hate to have to see him die on K-roll. Very, very unusual for that to happen, but I'm sure everyone can attest as a player of this game that if you've played Donkey 1, you've probably died to K-roll at some point. I'm sure our boy Blue will tough this one out and finish K-roll with no problems. Okay, just 3 more hits on Blue's side. Okay, 1 more hit. It's like he is gonna get through this safe and sound, even though he only had 1 Kong. Because that definitely would have been a tilter, I can tell you that much. He would not have been happy with that. So yeah, he is not done to get in the 40-46. Obviously, not what Blue was looking for on that. I'm sure he feels like he squandered an opportunity there, since Fathlo was making a few mistakes early in the run. But he's gonna have to put that behind him and fight really, really hard. Again, this is both of their tournament lives now are now at stake. This is a losers bracket match. So loser goes home. This is the decisive game 3 coming up. Okay, I'll be right back, and we will get ourselves away for the decisive game 3. 1 second, guys. Okay, I am back. It looks like Fathlo needs just a minute. He is also probably using the washroom as his classic on Fathlo's end. Known for going to the washroom after every run. Shouts to Fathlo. Yo, so while we are waiting on the runners to ready up. I want to see some 23s, and I want to see some 20. Type it up. Here we go for the final match coming up here in the not too distant future. It's been an absolute pleasure thus far casting for you guys. Definitely some interesting things have come up thus far that you wouldn't expect from both of these runners. Hoping for a really clean game 3, nice and close. Let me check the schedule. By the way, we do have another match coming up, and I am also commentating it at 1 a.m. Eastern. So that would be in 1.5 hours. We have Canis versus Nay, also a losers bracket match. So loser will go home in that one as well. Both very good runners with 33s as their PBs. So expect greatness out of that. And then we have Jackie and I Want to Be Your Jackie and myself racing in winners finals on Sunday at 5 p.m. So if you're enjoying what you're seeing thus far, definitely even more great things to come in the near future. The winner, I'm assuming that the winner of this match will play the winner of Canis and Nay. Let me double check the bracket just to make sure I'm not spouting falsehoods. No, okay, so actually, the winner of Nay and Peachy, and then the winner of that will play the winner of this match. So the Nay Canis match is 1 round previous to this match. Okay, good to know. Oh, Rocket. I agree, champ of the couch. I do run all 3 games and can attest that there are actually quite a few great levels in DKC 3. Definitely one that does not get as much love as it deserves. All 3 games are absolutely fantastic, and if you are ever thinking about picking up these games for yourself, either DKC 1, 2, or 3, make sure you check out the wiki, dkcspeedruns.com. Has great information, and I believe it also has the link to our Discord. Plenty of very nice, helpful, friendly people in the community, always around to answer any questions that you guys have. So yeah, if it's ever something that piques your interest, make sure you hop on in. And it looks like the race timer has just ticked down, so these guys will be starting very shortly on the restream here. Again, this is the 3rd and final round, or 3rd and final game race between these guys. Winner moves on, loser goes home. So we're going to start in 1-1, picking up the DK barrel, purposely take damage as Donkey while opening the DK barrel to get Diddy, because Diddy does move faster than Donkey, doing a nice little extendo through all of those enemies. Again, for a refresher for those who were not here at the very first race, an extendo is the term we use for essentially refreshing your roll before it actually dies. To execute it, you're going to press and release Y to roll through an enemy, and then after you've rolled through the enemy, then you can repress and hold Y at any point during your roll animation. So we call it an extendo because you can wait till your roll is almost dead and then press and hold Y to initiate a brand new roll duration with the increased 25% speed boost. And we're going to use that to cross certain gaps that we normally wouldn't be able to cross. Meanwhile, these guys did just take the bonus room. 1 of 2 in the run that you'll see them take. It is not a requirement to take bonus rooms in this category. But in this particular instance, since it shoots you out near the end of the level, it is faster to do it than to play the level out naturally. Off into Reptile Rumble, again, the hardest World 1 stage in my opinion. We're going to see Fathlo's, so I don't think Blue goes for the zips in the crawl space, he just crouch jumps through, but I think we're going to see Fathlo, Fathlo pressed Y after his first crouch jump to actually roll through the crawl space. And since you can't really roll through it, it zips you. And if you're over halfway through the crawl space, it'll take you to the exit of the crawl space. And if you're before the halfway point of that crawl space, it'll take you back to the beginning of the crawl space. So, you had enough distance there to zip to the end. Very, very nice. Looks like we still need a slight resync. So even though it looks like these run neck and neck right now, Blue's timer shows about 2.5 seconds faster or ahead of Fathlo's. So Fathlo actually has a slightly bigger lead than what is currently being indicated. Just looking at their fishes are synced up very, very nicely, but it looks like their timer about 2.5. So slightly for Fathlo, but it's definitely within reach for Blue. For sure, this is the cleanest that Fathlo has played World 1 so far, if my memory serves me. Now you'll notice that Fathlo did grab that Ramby there. People in chat were reminding people to reset their console. That wasn't just a joke. In this game, for whatever reason, if you finish a run and then load up a save file or start a new file, either one, it actually remembers how many tokens you had. So if you had already collected 2 Ramby tokens and then you start up again without resetting your console, you would get granted a 3rd token essentially, and then that would take you to a bonus room, which would take what, like 90 seconds to finish. So that'd be like a huge time loss. So yeah, if you're ever racing DKC 1, you have to make sure to reset your console between races. Okay, now I was talking about the extendo earlier in 1-1. You can right here, they did an extendo between the 2 crems and on the necky to cross the gap all the way to the ramp. If you don't do the extendo there, you do not reach the ramp and you fall to your death. That's one of the ones that when beginners are picking this game up, it is a little bit difficult. They oftentimes don't quite understand the extendo mechanic and don't have the right visual cues on that one. So very, very common for newer players to have struggle with that particular extendo. But at the level that these guys are on, I'm not surprised to see them nail it flawlessly. Okay, Bouncy Bonanza. This is the hardest level in World 2. We're gonna see some B skips and maybe some zips on Fathlo's side. I don't think Blue does that though. So let's see. Fathlo does zip through that crawl space. It does set up the B skip right there, crouch jumping. Blue also getting the B skip, very, very nice. Does end up with a crawl through that crawl space at the end. It's a little bit slow. What you want to do is do a crouch jump through that, conserve your momentum. He was definitely trying to, but just got too close to the crawl space entrance and got kind of almost like sucked in when he tried to jump into it. So, not fully optimal, but there are definitely worse things that could have happened. Okay, stop and go. Going to take the developer warp, conveniently located right to the left of the entrance. We're going to be able to roll through these rock crocs, even if they're moving. As long as you're in the rolling animation, like Fathlo was there and like Blue was right there, you do not take damage. If you do jump out of your roll, while they're on top of you, you will take damage though. The same thing happens for Naughty Wheels in Millstone Mayhem and in Temple Tempest. Okay, Fathlo did have some issues with the super jump first race. He failed it like 2 or 3 times, but does nail it this time, no problem. And that's what you want to see. You don't want to have a rough early game. It makes the rest of the run so much harder when you don't have that. I've mentioned it before, but speed gaming or speed running is a very mental game. And so when your confidence is shot, you know, it makes it very hard to perform well, even if you've done this game 1,000+ times. Okay, the Neki spawns are RNG. Blue does take damage. You don't want to do that because not only will he have a longer fanfare as compared to Donkey, he has to get Donkey back because the next level has a Donkey-only developer warp, and it's on a timer. So you can still get there in time with Diddy and swap back to Donkey and still have it show up. But Blue has to make sure he doesn't make any crucial mistakes here, which I wouldn't expect. But if he did make too many mistakes, he would actually miss out on the timing of that barrel. But no, he gets there in time, swaps, and does get there just fine. Fathlo, meanwhile, no problems whatsoever. Okay, this time Blue doesn't take damage, so he does have both Kongs, so I don't expect him to have a Treetop Infinite like he did last time. Also, if I remember last time, Fathlo also failed the Treetop Town tire jump thing. Yeah, no issues from the runners this time around. Kind of to be expected. It's very, very surprising that not one but both runners failed it last race. Okay, so we saw in race 1, Blue got the SJR in this level. In race 2, I believe Fathlo did. Fathlo taking damage right there. Diddy runs into the wall, jumps off screen to store the super jump state. Diddy back, takes damage as Donkey, starts holding B, and presses Y too late. So he only gets a super jump. This is Blue's opportunity. He has the same trick set up. All he has to do is press Y and does not get it. He goes too early. You do not want to be too early on that trick, especially in a race. So yeah, it is actually faster to die and try again than it is to take the ropes naturally. So Blue, honestly, if Blue gets the SJR right here, which he is attempting again, he won't have lost that much time. Okay, he did go for it, but he didn't get it. So the way the timing works out, it's like you save 20-ish seconds if you get the super jump roll over the super jump. But if you die and then try the super jump roll again and get it, you lose about 3 or 4 seconds compared to the super jump. So like, even though Blue did die on the first try, if he had nailed it the second try, he would not have lost that much time to Fathlo. But unfortunately, he died and then did not get the super jump roll, so he is losing, what, it's like 20-ish seconds, something like that. So the first 2 races, we did see Blue attempt the SFR. The first one, he went for the standard strat with rolling off the ledge, but he killed a Naughty, and that killed his ability to do the trick successfully. And then the second time, he knew he was behind, so he went for the much, much more difficult Extendo SFR that saves 0.4 additional seconds, but he failed that, unsurprising, because it is very, very challenging. I expect him to just go for the regular SFR here, so expect to see him running or rolling off the ledge to the left, but we'll see which one he opts for. He obviously knows how to do both. He went for the Extendo. Holy cow, so he really wanted to save that 0.2 seconds. That is a ballsy move on Blue's side. Very, very nicely done. Fortunately, it did not bite him in the butt, because that is, I can tell you from experience, that is a tough one to get consistent on. What you have to do is you have to roll into the Naughties, and then go back to the right and get roll to have just enough height to get off of the staircasing steps to give you liftoff. And if you don't do it correctly with the super jump state stored, which that's what he went to the right for, to get his Kong back and have the super jump state stored and everything. If you don't have that, then you just end up flat on the ground and you have to play the level out. It's a pretty big setup cost, so like it saves. Technically, it doesn't even save anything compared to playing the level out optimally. It just about breaks even with playing the level optimally. But the back half is kind of hard to play optimally, so that's probably why he's trying to hedge his bets, saying that the SFR is easier to execute. So he was betting on it, and it paid off this time. And for anyone who hasn't seen that trick, the SFR, aka Super Free Roll, is a play off of the Frame Perfect trick, Super Jump Roll, SJR, which we have seen earlier in this match. The SFR was found relatively recently, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. Very, very fresh. There are only 2 levels where it's applicable in the run so far. Saw Blue do it there in Temple Tempest, but we will see both runners do it in Misty Mines. Okay, was that 1132 banana drop, something like that? Not bad. I think if you don't get the super in Forest Frenzy at a high level, you're looking to have like about an 1125, 6, 7 in that ballpark. So he's not playing 100% perfect, but in a race situation, I would say being only about 6-7 seconds off of where you should be without the super jump is pretty darn strong. Okay, so Fathlo going for a barrel boost here. What you do is while you're on a slope and holding a barrel, all you do is jump, and you get a huge boost of speed, and it helps us cross that gap. Technically, you can actually barrel boost off of any ledge, but the special thing about a slope, like where Fathlo did it, is that every single pixel on that slope counts as the edge of as a ledge, and that's why it's a free trick to execute there. But yeah, there are other spots where you could technically barrel boost and have it save time, but it's just so hard to actually press jump on that last like ledge pixel on straight edges. Blue was going for like a super optimal jump over a claptrap. I've started to opt out of that because, as you can see, it's very, very easy to take damage, and then playing as Donkey is quite a bit slower. And as you can see also on that ledge, like even trying to swap back to Diddy was a struggle. You have to be on like the flat ground to be able to swap, and the barrel placement like takes you just over onto the slope, and it makes it pretty awkward. So at least he was able to deal with it and get back on track. Okay, so Blue's doing the out of bounds rope jump right there to get above the developer and roll into it as Diddy. And normally you're supposed to use Donkey there and jump into it from underneath. Donkey's hitbox is just tall enough to reach that barrel, whereas Diddy's is not. Fathlo using his bird exquisitely, no issues from what I saw. Getting to the end of the level. Took damage there at the end. That's not a big deal. I'm sure that's just like a few tenths. Nothing to be worried about. Well, I missed how Blue took damage. Apparently Blue took damage, and I wonder if he could go like under the B or something. Did he try that out, trying to save some time? I'm not actually sure. But he did have to play the beginning of this level a little bit safe, make sure to get his Kong back. Interesting thing to note is that the speed of your animal buddy is dependent upon which Kong you are. So since Diddy moves faster, Diddy on Espresso moves faster. I believe Diddy on Rambi also moves faster. I believe the only animal buddy that moves the same speed is on Guard, because the two Kongs have the same speed in the water. Okay. Blue is now into Croctopus Chase. So now both runners are here. They're looking to cut corners and mash B as fast as possible during the vertical sections. That's really all you can do. You're going to see them essentially to cut corners. They're going to hug one wall, and then when they reach a certain visual cue, they'll start moving to the opposite end, the opposite wall to actually cut the corner. That way their horizontal speed has already been maxed out by the time they reach that corner. And over the course of this level, which is pretty long, 2 minutes and change, every efficient corner you cut definitely adds up. Again, we typically notate how well you did. Like, Fathlo had a bonk right there that killed his horizontal momentum, so we got a little slowdown right there. We'll be able to tell how well he did by the end game, or the end of level music. There's going to be a piano section that plays, and if depending on how many notes you hear, that tells you how well you played, how optimally you played. I believe last time Fathlo had his piano section start when he collected the G. We'll see how he does this time. Okay, so he did it at the very end of that giant read. I'm sure he's not too thrilled about that. I know he can do a lot better than that. But you know, sometimes it is what it is. The corners here, like I said, the corners here can be pretty challenging. The problem is once you make one mistake on a bonk, you already lose your momentum, and then two, it kind of is a little bit tilting because you know that's like the only way you can save time, which then can make you try to over optimize the next corner, and it can just lead to a vicious cycle. So, okay, so Fathlo took damage at the end of Torchlight there. Fun but challenging stage, pretty short, but definitely plenty of ways to lose your Kong or even die. Because he only has one Kong, he won't be able to go for the SJR. He did go for the SJR last 2 races and nailed it the second time. Did not hit it the first time, though. This time, he's not even able to attempt it. And since Blue doesn't attempt it either, since Blue hopefully won't have to pick up an extra Kong, he'll make up a little bit of ground off of Fathlo in RBR. But first, he has to get through Torchlight. So you can see he's going to jump on the edge of these oil drums. And at the very edge of it, you can actually get a roll off without taking damage. He was almost going to go for a roll jump over both the Crusher and the Mincer there. Opted out of it, realized. I actually don't know if he would have failed it. The setup looked pretty decent, honestly. I think he would have been able to make it, but it is a pretty scary strat. Meanwhile, Fathlo is out of RBR, safe and sound. And again, I don't think Blue went for... Yeah, Blue did not go for RBR either time. I think he said that he doesn't like the armadillo, the jump to make the armadillo follow you to set up the trick. Okay, 18-24 banana drop from Fathlo. At this point in time, if you don't have... Like, if you have both the SJRs, I think you'd be looking at like a 17-3x. So I'm trying to think. That's about where he should be without either SJR, I think. Maybe more like an 18-15-ish is what he would have liked to see. But he's not doing too far, given the fact that he hasn't hit either frame. He didn't hit ODA either. I believe... No, he had a little bit of a struggle last time. I don't think the... early part was an issue for him, but the very, very end of ODA did give Fathlo some trouble. He navigated it cleanly, though. Like, he found a nice improvised backup. But we'll see if he can do the same this time around. Definitely is a level where you can die at the very end if you aren't careful. He is picking up a backup Kong for safety, just in case he takes damage off the fire. I mentioned in Torchlight Trouble on blue screen, where like you want to hit the edge of the oil drums, roll off of them, and you won't take damage like he did right there on Fathlo's side. But if you're too far left, the fire will will hurt you, and if you're too far right, you'll fall into the pit of death. Oh, ooh, Blue got it, and I believe he got 4 baddies. Very nice. That is a huge time save over what Fathlo had to do. I don't think it completely closes the gap, but it definitely helps. That is like 20-ish or 25-ish seconds, something like that. So, yeah, he is scooting on out of there. Shouts to Blue for that. He really, really needed that frame. Ooh, Fathlo actually went for Snake Bounce there. I wonder if you felt ballsy just because he had a secondary. That's a little tight jump into the crawl space that he did to be able to hit the snake during that jump. If you mess it up, you do take damage, so... Fathlo actually opted to take the halfway barrel. Normally, he's known for not taking that halfway barrel in races, but I wonder he's just feeling like he's not at his 100% game right now, and wants that backup barrel just in case, and I cannot blame him, to be honest. Yeah, if we do have a speedrun admin, it would be awesome if we could get the timer synced up. I did mention it in World 1. I forgot to take a double look at it, but it looks like we have not yet been synced up. So Blue's timer is still a few seconds ahead. Not too many seconds, which is a few. So Fathlo does have a slightly bigger lead than what is actually showcased. Okay, Blue's setting up the... Ah! Okay. Ah! Okay, yeah, you have to wait there, Blue. You cannot go for that barrel. Okay, so there's a certain amount that you have to move to the right before you actually roll off that one elevator, and he died because of it. And then he couldn't get to the spot in time to get to the elevator. I'm glad he didn't overrush it, though. If he did try to get it, I think that elevator would have despawned on him, and he would have fallen to his death. So, you know, kudos to him for having the wherewithal to, like, take a deep breath, not panic, step back from the ledge, because that was sure suicide if he had gone for that. I don't think I saw any issues on Fathlo's here. I wasn't 100% paying attention because I was kind of talking, but I mean, he had his fish there, so, and I'm pretty sure I saw him go for triple mincer, but I kind of just expect Fathlo to always have a clean poison pond. I think poison pond is one of those levels that's it's hard when you're starting out, but once you have become a seasoned veteran, it's one of the more trivial stages. As long as you follow the same lunging pattern throughout. Oh, Fathlo! He is notorious for always going for the jump roll in there because he does claim it is the easiest, and I think a lot of people claim that. But the reason why I don't over-aggress on the MCM jump roll is that very reason. If you are late on your Y press, just like in any other jump roll or SJR, you will bounce off of the enemy, and in this case, you'll fall to your death because of it. And so, since it only saves 4 seconds, that death is definitely not worth it, in my opinion, to attempt that trick. However, Fathlo is very, very good at it and has a lot of confidence, so kudos to him. But he did stretch his bounds right there and fell to his death, and Blue wasn't... I don't think Blue was going for the jump roll there. I think he just messed up his rolling pattern and just happened to land on a bird as he was trying to get his roll off. Very, very, very unfortunate. It's that just... Ooh, he recaught his roll right... Oh, dude, he's losing his inputs. He was losing his inputs right there, and he's losing it again, dude. Why is his rolls not working? He's supposed to be rolling through this era this whole time, pretty much, and he is just... I don't know what's going on, but his controller or something is messing up, because that is not at all how that's supposed to look, and I'm sure he is not too thrilled with that. Probably cursing his controller at this very moment, because I've had that happen in the past, but I feel like it's usually like a controller issue and not a player issue per se. Because really all he has to do is press Y. Now it's working just fine. Something was weird in that last, and there it is again. And you see he's trying to salvage it the best of he can. At this point, honestly, if I was him, I might just go into a barrel, just go into a cart. Like, it is not worth this risk because you are not saving any time by having to back up some of these jumps. Okay, he's coming to the end of this. Okay, that's good. I'm honestly glad he accidentally went in that, because this was just an absolute nightmare of a situation. Unfortunate for Blue right there. Oof. Yeah, if he's gonna have to look back at this this race and be like, man, what happened in my... Because he was close. He was in position where he could have taken over the lead with a good World 6, but I think his controller really let him down, and like, messing up that jump there twice on that B seems to me to be more like tilt rather than anything, because it looked like he was like trying to min jump there to like optimize. I don't even know, but I think his head's just out of it now. As you can see, he is definitely just sitting on the overworld map. Probably needs a cooler. Probably, yeah. He's confirmed his controller died in MCM. His Y is not registering, and he can't do a full jump, and that is exactly why he was min jumping. It was not that he was optimizing anything. I'm getting word now. He was trying to hold B, and it just gives him a short hop. That is a brutal race, a brutal way to lose the race and the match. So, you know, my heart goes out to Blue. You never want to see something like that happen. Honestly, not playing that poorly going into this. Like, he got the ODA. He didn't die, I don't believe. Wait, is this the one he died on Forest Frenzy? I can't remember if he died on Forest Frenzy, but like, World 4 was mostly clean. He got ODA. You know, he was putting himself in a great position. So, all Fathlo has to do now is technically just finish out this race. It won't. His time is, so he does miss Tut. And see, that's exactly what I was talking about. Like, Blue had put himself in a position where if Fathlo had missed Tut, which he did, and Blue had hit Tut, which Blue would have had an opportunity to, I mean, Blue could have been in a huge lead. He could have been in like a 20-30 second lead at this point if his controller hadn't have died in MCM. So, yeah, he'll have to go back to the drawing boards, see what happened with his control. And hope for the next DKC tournament with because he is unfortunately going to be eliminated in the All Stages 30 right here. Although I do want to give props to Blue because he has put a lot of time and effort into DKC 1 and all of his Donkey games, to be honest. But I would say he's a relative newcomer. He's not like a super duper old boy. So to see him rise as fast as he has and get a pretty solid 34 and have the potential to get a 33 and such, it's very nice to see. And so hopefully he's not deterred by this and he will come back stronger than ever next time. Meanwhile, has Fathlo really done anything all that bad this run? He died in MCM. I'm trying to think. I mean, he didn't hit ODA. He didn't hit RBR. He didn't hit Forest Frenzy. So like he's not having, and he didn't hit Tut. So he's not having like the biggest frame game this run, or even at all today. Like he has not been really on top of the game in that sense. But I feel like technically speaking, his mechanics this race have probably been the best of the three, if I'm not mistaken. So he can definitely take some solace in that at least he probably feels like he did play technically poorly in this one, although his time probably won't be as good as he would have liked, just strictly because of the frames that he did not hit. And again, when I say frame, I mean a frame perfect trick, aka a super jump roll or a jump roll, depending on the situation. He's setting up the SFR here. Gets only one baddie. That is a rough situation. Definitely still faster than playing the level out, but you definitely want to hit 4. Every enemy you roll through, you increase your speed by 25%. So only going 1 out of the 4 is not ideal. Hopefully he knows the release spot on this. So I was getting word from the race channel. Fathlo has offered to rematch tomorrow for this game 3. Which is probably why he was just sitting there typing that out. So I'm not 100% sure if that's what's going to happen or what. But Fathlo's still going to finish this run out. And we'll find out after the race exactly what's going to go down. A little bit of an anticlimactic way to end this match, which would have been pretty interesting, honestly. It might not have been the most optimal gameplay from either side over the course of the match, but it definitely was fun to watch, and it had a lot of excitement in it. Oh, he was going for the SJR right there. Shouts to Fathlo. Yeah. So yeah, there is an SJR in this level. See if he kills himself to do it again. No, he doesn't. He didn't want to do it. There is an SJR in this level. It only saves about 3 seconds, and it's only used for the any percent category, and not all stages. Because any percent is only 8 minutes long, so 3 seconds saved in 8 minutes in an 8-minute long category is important. But in all stages where there are so many other frames, and this frame being kind of tricky to set up, people currently do not go for it. Yeah, they were pretty close, and like I said, Fathlo didn't even hit Bird Tut, so and he only got one. I mean, I don't know how Misty Mine would have fared if I don't know if he watches the race and if seeing what happened to Blue impacted him or not, but like he only hit one baddie in Misty Mines and he didn't hit Tut, so Blue definitely could have gone into the lead pretty easily because he could have saved a ton of time on the Misty Mines setup. Fathlo getting the final jump roll of the game, so now it's just a formality for him to finish this one off. He has to face Neki 2 and then K. Rool, and then we can done this match and then figure out if there will be an actual decisive game 3 tomorrow, or if this is it for Blue's run in this tourney. And I apologize to anyone who came out and was hoping to see a really exciting third round here, because it was definitely shaping up great, and then yeah, then bad things happened to Blue's controller. Okay, we get some hot slap slide action out of Fathlo over here. It's not a useful trick, but it is swaggy as heck. So what he's going to try to do, he does it again, is going to press down and Y and a directional at the same frame. Jumping in the air makes it a little bit easier, because then I believe you can just hold your 2 D-pad directions at the same time, and they'll be active on the very first frame you touch the ground. So then all you have to do is press Y on the frame you touch the ground. So it's a little bit easier. You do the jump into a slap slide. Fun little thing. That there have been races in the past, 100 slap slide competition. Shoutouts to Nebe, the king of the slap slide. Okay. So it looks like I'm getting word that Blue is not gonna have a game 3 tomorrow, that this will stand true as it is. So, you know, GG to Fathlo for moving on. GG to Blue, very, very well played. I'm sure no one necessarily expected him to win, but he did definitely put on a great show here and actually took a game on Fathlo. Keep in mind, Fathlo is world record holder for this game, this category. So taking a game off of that guy is no easy feat, let me tell you. So definitely big props to Blue. And like I said, he's worked really, really hard at his DKC1 in the recent months, and it's definitely paid off. GG to Fathlo and Blue. It was a pleasure to commentate this, even though it had a sad ending for Blue's controller. If you are just now tuning in, this was a losers bracket match. I believe. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this was a top 6 match. This was a 6th place match in the tourney, and loser does go home. Hold on, there might be a new word. Okay, so we are actually getting word that there will be a rematch of Game 3 tomorrow night. I don't know what time, but it looks like Fathlo, in his good sportsmanship, has decided to offer the third game back, since it was a close match, a close game at the time of the controller failure. So Blue probably thanking his lucky stars. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you follow the runners, both Fathlo23 and bluebeary26, both very, very nice guys. Okay, so it looks like 8 p.m. tomorrow. So if you tuned in and saw the first 2 games and you said, "Dang it, why couldn't we have a real Game 3?" Well, don't worry. 8 p.m. tomorrow, they're gonna reschedule it. A decisive third game to be continued. So yeah, I guess that's going to be it from me for right now. There is another match in the losers bracket. I believe it's the top 8. This was a top 6 match. I think the other one is a top 8. That is happening in about 50 minutes between Nay and Canis. So that should be another really, really great match. Both runners have 33s. So who knows who will take that one down? Come tune in to find out in about 15 minutes from now. And then again, my match against I Want to Be Your Jackie in the winners finals is on Sunday at 5 p.m. Give the shout outs to Speed Gaming and Neo and Jasper for helping put on this tournament. Appreciate that a bunch, you guys. Shout outs to the runners, Fathlo and Blue, making this an enjoyable experience, and especially Fathlo for his great sportsmanship. You love to see that happen. And then shout out to all you guys for coming in, tuning in to this match. I hope you guys enjoyed it a lot. But yeah, I think that will be it from me for right now, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out.